is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to Catechist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.catechist.com, and our special guest today is bassist Joey Vera from a band Armored Saint. Welcome to the show, Joey. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, your publicist sent me, a link to check out your guys' new album. I was really impressed with what I heard. I mean, I got to tell people the album is called Punching the Sky. It comes out October 23rd, which is a week from tomorrow. And I got to tell people, I just was really impressed. I mean, from top to bottom, I mean, every song it just is really fantastic. I mean, there's no filler material on here. And one of the things I was reading in the press release that I was sent was that you guys really made a point of really focusing on each individual song as you were working on it, and that I can really notice in listening to it.
Cool. I'm glad it translates that way.
Yeah, and I understand you were a producer and really involved with the production. So what's that like for you, Joey, being that you're acting as a producer and you're also a member of a band? I mean, obviously it works for you because, like I said, the album sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in this role with the band for quite a while. It kind of first started to come to fruition when we made Symbol of Salvation in '91.
Yeah. Wow.
So I've had a while to,
be in that role.
My feet in the ground.
Yeah.
So I've just I take great pride and I like to put a lot of detail into what we do and the overall picture. So the production side of it is very important for me.
Yeah.
And I've just found a way to balance the two roles, being the bass player but also being the producer.
Yeah, and obviously your bandmates, have that faith in you. Like you said, you've been in that role for so long, and I'd imagine it's a lot easier too, having yourself in that role as opposed to an outside producer, which for different bands might work, but you don't really have an outsider trying to dictate what the band can or can't do. I mean, who knows better than somebody that's in the band, what the Armored Saint sound is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that I don't take,
criticism,
cues or influence or criticism from other people. I mean, part of along the way, I'm working with other engineers, like, Josh Newell, Bill Matoyer, and ultimately Jay Rustin, who mixed it, and I'm relying on their expertise to help me get to the final destination. So it is a group effort, but yeah, I mean, it's been working for me so far.
Now, I was reading the other day on the internet that there's actually, I don't know if it's coming out soon or not, but there's going to be an Armored Saint documentary or movie. Can you talk a little more in detail about that?
Well, it's being put together by a friend of ours who's a filmmaker, lives in the UK, named Russell Charrington, and he a couple years ago, he's been a longtime friend of ours and a fan, obviously, and just a collaborator of just other things. He's a teacher. He teaches at film school and all this stuff. I've actually worked with him personally on some of his short films, and I've written music for him in the past. And but he wanted to do this documentary, and I said, sure, that's awesome. I mean, it's his baby. It's not a movie we're making about ourselves. It's his story. His project, but, we're involved in the respect of, we did interviews with him. We supplied him with some old video footage and some photos and flyers and whatnot. So as far as I know, he's still in the editing process, and I think he hopes to have it finished and out sometime in the spring. I think that's what he's shooting for.
Oh, cool. That's something to look forward to.
I haven't seen anything other than the trailer, so.
Oh, wow.
But it's cool. I think it's going to be a really cool thing, especially for fans who, maybe don't know everything about our story, and it's a way to kind of go behind the scenes and see more about our story.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing. When I read about this, I was thinking as a fan myself, there's been all these great music documentaries over the years, but Armored Saint is really one of those bands that kind of so very often gets overlooked. And it's not that you guys aren't a great band. It's just that, like, especially when people are talking about, like, metal bands, typically they talk about the so-called Big Four, Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, all great bands in their own right. But somehow Armored Saint doesn't get mentioned as often as maybe you guys should. And I think it's, like you said, a great opportunity for fans to kind of really get to know the band's story. And you guys are going to be involved in it and doing these interviews. And people are finally going to get to maybe know a little more about Armored Saint's story than they already do,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it'll be good for them.
And now let me ask you about the new album, which again is called Punching the Sky. I love that title. I love the 2 videos you did. I mean, my favorite probably of the 2 videos got to be for The End of Attention Span, which you look at that and it's kind of obviously about everybody kind of being addicted to their devices and video games. Talk a little bit about the video, Joey, because again, for anybody that hasn't seen it, you can check it out on YouTube, but it's just really visually just awesome, I think.
Yeah, the director Robert Graves did a great job working on that. He really made it come to life. But we, it's basically kind of just commentary. It's not really necessarily soapbox material or making a judgment on anything. Yeah. It's just commentary on where we're at in a society where our attention spans have become very short. We have a hard time putting our devices down, and that includes computer screens, handheld devices, whatever. We're kind of poking fun at the situation. I mean, we're certainly just as equal to blame as everyone else. It's funny because the irony, the video has a lot of cool imagery and pokes fun at people at concerts or people at home or in social settings. And the irony about the whole thing about these devices is that, in the internet as a whole really, is that it was designed to bring us together, and that you get information so much quicker now. And the underlying theme about all that is that you are connected. You are to get connected, you need to have the internet. But the irony about all this is that because of our addictions, we're no longer connected. We're actually disconnected from each other. People are disconnected from each other because of this addiction to the devices. So that's the irony that we're kind of poking fun at, and the video came out great.
And it's crazy because, like you said, I mean, people are so glued to the internet these days, even more so than the TV. I mean, it's the very way a lot of people get their news, and it's just amazing. You stop and think. I mean, I see stuff on the news all the time about, somebody was killed in a horrible car accident because they were texting when they were driving or something, not paying attention, which you obviously should be doing. Stuff like that could be avoided. And as you're saying, it's a way a lot of people get their news, and yet there's some story in the news that certain tech companies they either want to play a role in getting it out or trying to stop it from getting out. There's all these things. People, like you said, people we don't even know we chat with online, and people getting into stupid arguments, throwing about political issues, throwing verbal threats back and forth on the screen. And I read a lot of the stuff every day myself, and like, it's not that serious. You guys don't even know each other, lighten up.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the thing. That's another irony about the internet. Being a place for, let's say, it's an all-access place. It's a giant library, but it's become a platform.
Yeah.
It's become this big giant soapbox, and suddenly it's injected people with this false sense of confidence, that they only exercise behind the keyboard. And if you were to get these two people out in the street to brawl it out, I'll bet your ass that the one guy would be running down the street the opposite direction because he doesn't actually want confrontation. Get him in front of the back of a keyboard, then he's all high and mighty. So
I bet you're right.
It's created this horrible. It's a horrible thing. That part of it.
And then at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because I mean, like, especially in the current state of a COVID lockdown and stuff, bands aren't able to get out and tour and do live performing like we're used to, And so on that front, I know you guys just last week did some live stream event. Talk a little bit about that and how it went.
Well, the live stream went great. We we were at first hesitant going into it like a few months ago just because it was so alien, the idea of playing in a room with no audience. But once we got there and we rehearsed for it, we got pumped up, and we were excited to be on stage again and just cranking up the amps and just playing. So that part was great. We had a blast rocking out. It was fun playing the new songs. We got a really great turnout. A lot of people showed up and watched the first day of the stream, so that was great. Thank you to everybody who did that, who came out. And it ended up being a lot of fun. We did a Q&A at the very end of the show, and that was fun too. We didn't get to every question that we submitted, but we did a lot of questions, and that was fun, just reminiscing on some old stories. And so it was a really cool experience in the end.
And would you consider it to be something successful, like at a successful event that you might repeat in the future? And the reason I ask is, again, with the internet, it's amazing in this current lockdown situation we're in. I thought when all these bands started doing these streaming events, it's not perfect because, like you said, you don't have a roar of a live crowd to kind of feed off. But at the same time, if that's how I can see a band live, if I have to, stay home and watch it on the computer or whatever screen, it's kind of getting away around bands not being able to go out and do their thing. I mean, it's not the perfect situation, and yet at the same time, when the more and more bands that started doing this, Facebook saw, the success people were having with this, and then they went to the point of, we're not going to allow that on our platform. No more streaming events on Facebook, I guess, unless they get paid for it. But again, Armored Saint found a way around that, and you guys were still able to pull off your event, and that's what I dig about stuff like this. Finding ways to get around that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in a situation that no one ever saw coming. So we're totally ill prepared for this situation. If you would have told me a year ago that next year you won't be able to play gigs anywhere in the world, I'd be like, what? You're out of your mind. Why? How? That's not possible. But here we are. So everyone in the business has to find ways, like guerrilla warfare. You got to adapt. You got to adapt to the situation, and that's really the only place that you can find any kind of peace of mind. So, it's like you either do things like this, or you do nothing at all. And doing nothing at all that's like the worst thing ever. I mean, at the very least, and I think a lot of fans have really appreciated it, at the very least, you can at least hear and watch some of your favorite musicians performing again in some capacity. And then even after the event, you guys took the time to do a Q&A, like you said, and that's a pretty cool thing, because if you do go see a band live, you're not going to get that typically. And so that makes it that much more special of an event. And I also dig the fact that, a lot of established bands these days, because let's be honest, people don't buy CDs like they used to. Or they're like, we're just going to live on our catalog of music. We're not going to bother releasing anything new. I dig the fact, especially in this current lockdown situation, that Armored Saint is one of the few bands that continues to put out new music, I mean, we're just trying to,
keep it going.
We're just trying to stay busy right now and keep it going. And, I don't know, there's been some talk, in the press, at least the interviews that I've been doing, that we've, it's almost like the COVID thing didn't really have any effect on us. Like, even if COVID wasn't here, we'd still be releasing our record October 23rd. We'd still be releasing these singles and doing all these things. Maybe not this live stream thing, but, our business is business as usual. So, and that's we're just trying to keep doing what we're doing.
And that's my point I'm making, because there are a lot of bands, and they have their reasons for doing what they do. But just for example, the Bon Jovi album just released. It's called 2020. It was supposed to come out much earlier in the year, I think around March. But he decided, okay, you know what? Because of what's going on, we're going to hold off on the release. It's out now, so it got a little delayed. But that's kind of what you say, Joey. It's for Armored Saint, it's business as usual, and I dig that. I dig the fact that you guys. We can't go on tour now, but we're going to still get some new music out there to our fans. We're going to still do what we can, And
Yeah, when lockdown first started, well, when it started in March, at least here in LA, we got closed down in March, and then by the middle of April, we were finishing the mixing and going into mastering, and the label came to me and said, okay, we need to put you on the schedule for release. What are we doing? Do you want to hold the record? And I said, I don't know. I hadn't really considered that. So we talked about it for it was a very short conversation though, but we eventually said, well, why are we going to hold it? It doesn't seem like things are going to change necessarily. Why would we hold it? Hold it for what? If we stay down the way we're down now in lockdown, people are already pulling their hair out back in March and April. Let alone in October. If we're still at home in October, which we are, people are going to be going crazy. This is exactly why we need to put the record out, because people need to hear new music from their favorite artists, and we just happen to have a record coming out, so get it out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And plus, you got a governor here in California where is really making it harder and harder for places to open. And he's even talking about, every time I see him on the news, talking about annual events that he's already planning to shut down for next year. I mean, how can you know 7 months in advance if you're going to need to cancel an event, what it's going to be like? But that's the state we're living in, and that's the other thing about the streaming event you guys put on at the Whiskey. Sadly, where Armored Saint is from, Los Angeles used to be the music capital of the world, and because in large parts of this COVID stuff and everything being shut down, a lot of those clubs, such as the Troubadour and other clubs down there, are really in danger of closing down for good. And so I think by having these events like at the Whiskey, like you guys did, it helps to kind of maybe see what we can do to keep the music scene down there alive,
Yeah, I mean, we got to support local businesses, just like I support my local restaurant, my mom and pop restaurant in my area, So you got to do that. You got to support local business however you can, So, I mean, I hope a lot more bands do these virtual shows, because it's going to help the local community. So we got to keep it alive. Yeah,
and I've heard people coming up with great ideas. I mean, I live in Long Beach, California, which isn't too far from LA, and it's still in LA County. But anyways, there's a club not 5 minutes away from where I live, and what they started doing, because they're not allowed to have people inside the club, but they will have bands go and play inside. The band can go inside and play inside the club, and then they have a big movie screen outside in the parking lot. Everybody can check the band out on the live movie screen, and it's not the same thing, but it's a way around so people can go out, maybe every once in a great while and have some kind of fun, and be entertained.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta do something.
Yeah, and again, I interviewed your singer John Bush last week, talking to him about the new album as well, and he was telling me not only did you guys got these 2 videos, but you're working on one, and by the time the album comes out, you're gonna have a 3rd video already. I think he said for a track, the missile. What is it called? Yeah, Missile to the Gun or something like that. But you guys are going to have 3 videos. I mean, that's really fast time, to do all that.
Yeah, and actually, I don't think we've ever had 3 videos for a single record before, so this is another first for us. And Metal Blade's been great in supporting our release, and we're lucky to be on this label, and everybody there is working their ass off, helping us spread the word for the release and everything, and we're looking forward to this 3rd single that's coming up soon, and we still have some other things in the pipeline too before the end of the year.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we eagerly await all that, but I got to tell you, like I told John Bush when I interviewed him last week, I think you guys made the right move as far as releasing this album right now like you originally planned to do, and I'll tell you why, because there haven't been a whole lot of new releases this year for the very reason we discussed. And right now, up until I heard the new Armored Saint album, my kind of favorite album for this year that came out so far was the new Ace Frehley album. It's like an all covers album, and if you're an Ace fan, or a Kiss fan, I think you're gonna dig it. But like I said, I listened to the new Armored Saint album, and from top to bottom, it's just a great album. I dare say, compared to everything that's come out so far, I dare say it might be the best album of 2020. And I really urge people to go out and get it and check it out and support the band, when it comes out next week.
Well, That's great. Thank you. I hope so too.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, Joey, because again, the band's not able to get out there and really tour like you typically do. Now there are some states in that are opening up a little more. Is there a chance you guys might tour in some of those states, or do live shows where you're able to?
We'd like to. I mean, a lot of things depend on the state of the medical community, obviously, and that's going to help open up the rest of the world, and the United States included. So it depends how states and certain cities or counties start opening up. I mean, we would love to be able to, get something planned for the spring, for instance. But
just don't
again,
know.
There's just so much questions out there still that we can't. It's very hard to really make any solid plans right now as far as touring goes anywhere.
Yeah. And then, the other video that you guys did so far that I really kind of dug was Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. And you watch the video, and it's interesting because, again, I listened to it, and while it may not necessarily have anything to do with this, but it kind of, you watch the video and you think, this is kind of like looking out, at the world, kind of the current state of the world. And it's interesting because I was looking at the outdoor scenes in the video, and I thought it almost looked like downtown Los Angeles, where Armored Saint is from. But John was telling me when I interviewed him, he says, no, we had some guy edit the video, and his footage he had like from Rio de Janeiro or somewhere. And I thought, wow, man, that's amazing because it looks so much like if you were to go downtown LA, by the freeway and all that.
Yeah, he's actually from Romania.
Oh, Romania, okay. Okay. Yeah. I may have got that wrong, but confused that. But in any event, it's amazing to see that video was so. It was just really edited great together, but just great stuff.
The song is about kind of in a general way. It's about going through life and getting through troubles and having perseverance, and so there's a sense of movement, of moving through life, like going through movement, just traveling through time, basically. So I think a lot of those images he used those images of traveling and moving to help kind of the allegory of moving through life, and of course the nature scenes are, indicative of our planet and where we are, and
climate and all that.
Moving through the life that we know.
Yeah, and Armored Saint really has been one of those bands to kind of have that attitude all through your career where you persevere, and you we're in the fight. And in fact, so much that even just from a fan perspective, somebody that's followed the band throughout the years, Armored Saint's been one of those few bands where you guys have really stayed pretty consistent with the lineup. I mean, the one guy that kind of left and really didn't have a choice was Dave Pritchard, and I was just kind of curious. I mean, why do you think you guys have been able to kind of stay together as good as you have, unlike a lot of other bands where they're constantly going through lineup changes?
Well, it takes work. It's not easy. It takes an effort. It's like any relationship. You gotta work at it, and push and pull, allow for personalities to be the way they are. And also, find a way to work in that capacity. We've known each other a very long time. Three of us have known each other since we're 8 years old.
Oh, wow,
so
wow. Yeah. Like brothers.
We go really far back.
Oh, wow.
It's like family, and anybody knows who's done any kind of business, gone into business with a family member, it's one of the hardest and worst things you could ever do. So this is sort of like that, So we just find a way to make it work, and, we're glad that it kind of keeps the integrity together with our band. It's not like John Bush and 4 other guys you don't ever heard of, So we try to keep it for the integrity of the name of the band.
That's great. And now I also know that the keyboard player from Guns N' Roses, Dizzy Reed, he appears on the album. Talk a little bit about how and why you guys decided to get him involved, because I think that's pretty cool that he appears on the album.
Dizzy is a friend with Jeff Duncan. Our guitar player Jeff Duncan plays in Dizzy's side band sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And Below.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
So when Dizzy got wind that we were going into the studio, he called him up and said, "Dude, you got to get me. I want to play on that Armored Saint record. I don't care what it is." You know?
Yeah.
And so Jeff called me and told me, and I said, as a matter of fact, there's 2 songs that have piano and keyboards, and would love to have him play. So I got in touch with him, and he's totally into it. He was such a pro. He came down to the studio and played. He went off on the parts and added his own thing, and he added another level to the vibe and all that. So
that's totally cool. And
there's an honor. There's an honor having him on there for sure.
And I'll tell you, anybody at the thought of hearing about keyboards on an Armored Saint album, I gotta tell you again, I heard the entire album, and you don't really notice the keyboards. I mean, it's not like Armored Saints all of a sudden going to sound like Bon Jovi. And I always tell people, that say like keyboards don't belong in metal or rock. I'll point to like Deep Purple. I'll say, you look at anything like John Lord and did with Deep Purple, and you tell me keyboard, there's a way to do it. And and Armored Saint still got that classic, metal sound that you guys are known for. So again, I think people are just going to dig the album, and the songs are just really well written. So how involved are you, Joey, with the songwriting? Because I assume John Bush does a lot of it since he's a singer. But how involved are you with coming up with the riffs and all that?
Well, I'm pretty much the 95% songwriter of music. I write mostly everything, and it's been like that for the past 3 records, basically.
Okay.
So I write all the songs, basically. A couple of the guys contribute a little bit of things here and there, but it's predominantly myself and John that write all the songs.
Yeah, and then final question for you for the day, because I know you're a busy man, but I know you also are involved with Fate's Warning, and you guys also have a new album coming out pretty soon, and also I believe on Metal Blade. So my question for you, Joey, is like, do you ever write a song and like think of, I could do this for Armored Saint, or maybe it's more of a Fate's Warning song, or do you tend to write, like for example, when you go into new Armored Saint, you're only going to write for that, so whatever you're writing is for Armored Saint, and the same thing with the other band, I would imagine?
Yeah, usually so. I mean, I tend to get into a headspace when I begin writing, and I kind of stay there. I don't write a lot when I'm
at home.
I don't have a focus.
Yeah.
I mean, I do once in a while, but I don't do it a lot. It's mostly like when I start writing for an Armored Saint record, it's a loose thing. I'll just see doodling and see what turns into songs at first. But once the ball starts rolling, I'm very focused about, okay, I'm going to keep going with this ball that's, this snowball that's rolling down the hill, and try to make it get bigger and bigger. So I don't really start. It's not a situation where I'll be in that frame of mind, and then I'll suddenly write something that, this would be good for Fate's Warning. That wouldn't necessarily happen with me. I'm kind of more like once I start a project, I finish a project.
I hear you.
Person.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool. And then on that note, that's got to keep it kind of fresh for you that while Armored Saint has kind of been your main baby all these years, you also got Fate's Warning, so it kind of keeps it fresh for you, because I imagine while they're 2 great bands, they're very different entities, so that's got to kind of keep it cool for you that, okay, right now I'm doing Armored Saint, but we also have this new album coming out from Fate's Warning. I mean, 2 different worlds, but the Joey Vera fans out there, going to be getting 2 great new albums, and they're both equally, something special.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm honored that I'm able to do such a thing too. I mean, it keeps it super interesting. It's been like that for me since I've joined Faith. I've always been involved with a lot of different things. And
that's cool. That's cool that you can do that.
Being one of them. But, it's made my life way more interesting than if only doing one thing only.
I would think so. Yeah.
For me, it's super gratifying.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed talking to you today, Joey. Thanks for taking time to talk to me. And
great. Thank you. You too, Jason.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.